I think that how you handle yourself in business says a lot about who you are as a person.
Hi, welcome to Bespoke, the Sarah Z Designs podcast. This is our first episode. How exciting!
So exciting.
This is Sarah Zohar. Tell them about yourself.
Hi, my name is Sarah Zohar, and I'm the lead designer and owner of Sarah Z Designs. We are a high-end luxury design build firm in Miami, Florida. And we specialize in high-end luxury, concierge, and biophilic design.
Yes, and I, if I've not mentioned yet, am Christina. I'm her right hand, her branding specialist, and her co-host on this podcast. We're so happy to be here today. Let's get into Sarah Z Designs for people who don't really know much about who we are or what we do. How would you describe our business, our signature design style, and kind of our philosophy?
We are a curated design firm. We specialize in boutique, specializing to the client, as well as specializing in biophilic designs, which is nature-infused designs, which lead to healing. And it's about health.
Just wellness and kind of just bringing the wellness benefits of being outdoors kind of into your home.
So correct. Biophilic design, there's a lot of studies that show that people long for human interaction as well as nature interaction, right? As humans, we are nature. We love nature. We want to be outdoors. So infusing biophilic design into the interior is actually creating a design to the natural habitat. So for example, if I'm designing a beachfront condo in Florida, I am infusing the sand-like colors and ocean blues into the interior, creating an extension of the exterior, bringing it into the interior. And a lot of studies have shown that because humans long for nature and they love being outdoors. So, for example, if you're sitting at the beach and you're just listening to the ocean, right? And the waves, it's serene, it's calming. So it lowers your blood pressure, it makes you calmer, which leads to health benefits. And that's what we try to explain to our clients. If I'm infusing a pebble or a shell, I'm incorporating it into maybe the coffee table with fractal designs, and your eyes get drawn to it. So that's what biophilic design is. I was doing it naturally. I didn't even know it was a thing because I was just so in love with nature. And when I kept being in these condos, I kept looking outside and was so amazed by like
the views
and like the elongated beachfronts. And then when you're on the balcony, you actually can hear the waves. And I'm like, well,
what a beautiful thing to bring to the indoors.
I'm going to bring this indoors.
Right.
And later on with research, it became known as biophilic design. But I was doing it naturally and I was just attracted to it.
Right, because you really do like nature. You like being outdoors. You love to travel. These are things that we know about you. And we see how you infuse those things into your design and into the homes of your clients.
Right.
And we can see the benefits. Like I can tell you, I think it was my second day on the job. We were filming for a SoFlo home project. I had walked into that big, beautiful Bellini condo. And when I tell you, it was like nothing I had ever seen before in my life. I was just like stunned. And just that big living room area where you kind of pulled in those sandy tones for the furniture, but you had those beautiful, deep oceanic blue accents that were just popped inside. That it blew my mind. It blew my mind to see it. Just, you're so smart with how you do these things.
Thank
the
you.
Lighting, the texture is just, I'm her biggest fan.
Thank you.
Context.
So correct. And in Bellini, mentioning Bellini, you saw all those expanse windows out into the ocean. So when you walk in, the first thing you see is ocean and sand, right? So that's kind of what we try to incorporate into the design, really accentuating the interior into the exterior and making it feel like you're sitting outdoors, especially when you open up all those windows.
Oh, those floor to ceiling windows, to die for. Gorgeous. But what would you say makes our design firm, Sarah Z Designs, different from other design firms within this space or in South Florida?
So I think we're very unique in the way that we kind of curate for our clients. So back to human interaction, I think, and I have a lot of design friends in the industry and designer friends. Not every client is perfect for me or for my friend who's another designer. I think it's about creating that connection with your client. And if the connection is right off the start, then the client feels it, you feel it. So they're comfortable enough to hire you.
Of course.
They entrust everything in you because when you're designing for clients, you get into their most intimate details, whether, they have any health issues, whether they have kids with ADHD, whether they love to travel, and what are their artifacts and what are their art. And you really get into the most intimate details. So they create this relationship with you because we are not a cookie cutter design firm. We are a curated design firm. We design
bespoke.
We're bespoke. Especially for the clients. So we really, really do a lot of research and we have a lot of initial meetings to get into the nitty gritty of their life, sometimes being uncomfortable, but at least we learn about how they want to live, what's important to them. And then we take the design and run with it from there.
Exactly. It's truly curated and catered to the client, their lifestyle. Like, for example, like how we design a kitchen. It's like, do they cook often? Do they not cook often? Do they need a microwave? Like when we were at the Wolf Sub-Zero, like they were kind of explaining all of those things and all of these facets that go into designing these different spaces based on the client's needs, what they like, what they don't like. It's just like, it's really cool stuff.
Right. So we do design a lot of kosher kitchens. We design, and we really take the time to, a lot of people that are designing in Florida or whether we're designing in New York or Bahamas, and now we're working on a project in Montreal. This is their second, third, and fourth home, and some of their fourth projects with us. But you do feel the need, again, coming back to moving away from being on your phone and social media and more of that human interaction, family time, entertainable places. So we're finding that we're creating a lot of open concept spaces where the kitchen server is open to the dining room and the dining room is open to the living room, where they can accommodate a lot of entertaining and a lot of family and a lot of people. So, and they're infusing it into their lifestyle.
Yes, which is super important, especially in this day and age where people are very invested in media or the phones, creating these spaces where people can truly connect. It's a very special thing.
So I have to say, personally, I have 4 children. I have 2 girls and 2 boys. And I just had my first grandson.
The cutest thing in the world, mind you.
Thank you.
So cute.
So I find that my older ones, being that we always, before I started my career and I was a stay-at-home mom, they're more sociable and they know how to kind of create more conversations because we always made sure to have dinner together with my husband and like have family time. With my younger 2, I fell into Sarah Z Designs and I was in school and working part-time, so it was very difficult. And from a stay-at-home mom, I went to an MIA mom. And it really affected my 2 younger children, where I found that they turned more to their older siblings, but also they didn't have that family interaction where I kind of pulled them out of their shell and they fell more into social media and more the phone. And now I make it a point, as busy as I am, to try to be, well, my 3rd one's in college, but my 4th one's still a high schooler. And being that he's alone and all his siblings are out of the house, I make it a point that my husband and I are home by 5 or 6 And even if he's in his room doing homework, we force him to come down and
so you can have that family time.
Yes, have
that
dinner
connection.
and pull him away out of the social media or the phone, because you need that social interaction. You need how to learn
necessary
to speak to people.
Yes.
And I find that in the beginning it was a little difficult for him, but now he's coming out of his shell and it's great.
Yes,
and
AB's
I
so
think
sweet.
it's so important for anyone that has children, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a career mom. It's very hard to balance. I know a career and family life, but I think that is one of the priorities, that you could always be on your sofa after they go to sleep and continue with your emails.
Right.
But you need to be home for your children.
Yes, and you're so good to them, and they all adore you. I've met them all. Such great kids, especially, oh my gosh, AB, he's the sweetest little thing in the world. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
People are probably wondering why we decided we wanted to start this podcast. For me, my reasons are so I could sit on this couch and ask her things like, who's your favorite employee, and tell me why it's me. What are your reasons?
So I wanted to start the podcast for a few reasons, actually. I think in today's day and age, people are longing for empathy, kindness, relationships, health, mental health, health as far as physical health. And I think that biophilic design falls and plays into a lot of those areas. Design falls into a lot of those areas. I think people have the misconception that, oh, what do I need an interior designer? It's just to beautify my house, but it's not that at all. It's a breathing, living energy that gets infused into your life. And I always say this, that when we take on a client, we're infusing our passion. This is our passion, the entire team. And we put our heart and soul into the project. And we see it when we get very excited. And I'm like, oh my God, look what I'm doing here. And look what I'm doing here. And it's really a passion, but we're also infusing our positive energy into the project. 100%. So when we have those great clients, the positive clients, and they get it and they trust the process.
And they just kind of flow and fall into our rhythm as a team.
It just falls into a smooth, beautiful final product.
You can really see it in the results.
100%. And when the clients walk in, they're amazed, and just the hug and the appreciation that they give you is second to none. And it's so gratifying. But when you do have those negative clients, which we try to stay away from, because whatever you're going to say, whatever you're going to do, it doesn't really work for them. And maybe we're not the designer for them, and that's fine, because everybody has their designer. We try to explain to them that there is a lot of health benefits that go into the design aspect. And we still get calls from clients saying, oh my God, like, for instance, I had a client before you were a part of Sarah Z, that had just recovered from breast cancer. And she had interviewed maybe 20 designers, and I don't know how she got my number, but she called me and I went to see her, and she was telling me her wrenching story. And she says, listen, there's one prerequisite that I'm going to hire you. And I said, what is it? She said, I want to be happy in my space. And what makes me happy is red. And I want cherry Ferrari red sofas. Oh. And I said, but you're right on the water. And I could infuse blues and sand and greens. And I never designed with red. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know how to do that. She goes, yes, but you were touched by my story. I said, 100%. I have chills. So she goes, I want to be happy. I'm giving you a week. Come back to me. But I want red sofas. And if you cannot find red sofas or custom make red sofas, I'm not hiring you. So I said, I have to do this for the client because it's her health. She wants to be happy.
Right. And you felt that instant connection with her.
100%.
Like you were,
and I was so touched. And I'm like, she's recovering breast cancer. Like, how could you say no to something that you're so passionate about and you could help her?
Yeah.
And I used all my trade vendors, which are amazing. And I said, I'm looking for cherry red fabric, maybe find me a blue underlay so I could kind of incorporate complementary colors and blues. And after 3 days, I had 2 vendors send me 2 beautiful samples. And I put it all together, and I put sand and blue colors in the rug and a cherry red fabric with a blue underlay. And I took it to her, and she says, Sarah, I love it. And I want to tell you, from the minute you walked into my house, I knew you could pull it off. And she's my longtime client. She is in remission for 6 years now. And she says, I just love my apartment. I love being in my house. I don't leave my living room. I'm so happy.
And that's the goal.
That's the goal. And that's the end game. And that's what designers do. That's what we do. And it's really, really, really about helping people better their lives.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful thing. Oh, that was gorgeous.
Thank
Love
you.
that. Who do we imagine that this podcast is really for? Who would you like to reach, like, with what we're doing?
So besides what we've just spoken about, which our clients and just the population about health benefits in design, and I think that a lot of designers that are not familiar with biophilic design or nature-infused designs or fractals in design, I think they should do a lot more research because they don't know the capability and the platform that they have to help their clients. That's one. Secondly, I grew up in a community in New York where it was very customary for women to get married very young. And my sister and I got married. She got married at 18 and I got married at 21. And it wasn't customary for the girls to have a career. It was just more stay-at-home moms. And as times changed, I think a lot of women, whether they had great marriages or a little challenging marriages, they wanted something for themselves. And
something to call your own outside of family.
Exactly. They want whether they sold things out of the house or started their career. I think they needed that platform and reinforcement, as well as young designers, women designers in the industry that are starting and don't have the confidence to really deal with clients or don't have the knowledge. I think that part of the platform and part of the podcast is to kind of inspire and mentor younger designers or young women that are scared to go out on their own, and let them know that, you know, it takes a lot of perseverance and it takes a lot of grit, but you can do it just like I did it. I started Sarah Z when I was 36 with 4 young kids, and as challenging as it was, and I'm so grateful because I never thought that it would turn to what it turned to.
Such a beautiful, lucrative, just successful business.
Correct. And I want to mentor those young women and help them. And even men, if they need help or in the industry or whatever we
Anyone
could do.
Just starting off.
Exactly.
He has to have like a jumping off point where they have no.
I wish I had more of that mentorship. I had some of it, but not enough of it. And I want to give back.
Of course. And honestly, I can't think of anyone who would be a better mentor. You're just, you have so much knowledge and wisdom and information. And before I started working for you, I'm telling you, I could not tell you what a sconce was. I can promise you, I did not know what a sconce was. But I'm telling you, working at Sarah Z, it's like a new learning experience every day. And obviously, the team, we all absolutely adore you. And you really do guide us because you're such a great, strong leader. And when you discuss like being confident, you're like the picture of confidence to me. I love to see like how you carry yourself in a room, how you're able to put your foot down, you're unapologetic. And it's very inspirational. So
thank you. I think I was always like that. That's part of my personality. But in my career, I kind of learned, you know, of course we design for the clients, and I'll always try and I'll always embrace whether they have an heirloom or an artifact that they want to incorporate. I'm designing for them. And I'll never be that type of designer where I will say no because it's about them. We are the actual storytellers that put their vision together. Only once in my career I said to a client, absolutely not. There's no way in hell I'm putting my name on that. I said, if you love that sofa, I'll change the designer up a little bit. And he was laughing, and he said, "Okay, Sarah, I'll go with you."
The designer knows best. The designer knows,
so
but yeah. Okay, speaking of getting started in the business and kind of finding your footing as a new designer, could you kind of tell us the story of how you started with like design school, or even going far back? When did you realize you had a passion for design?
So I grew up with construction.
Mhm.
I never realized that I had a passion for design until my husband and I had moved to Florida in 2004, and it was a very hard transition for me. I had 3 kids. Robert, my third one, was a baby, and it was very hard navigating. My husband left Florida. I didn't. I wanted to move back to New York. And I remember calling my sister, crying and saying, "I hate this place with a passion. I can't navigate and find my New Yorkers. And what am I doing here?" And she said, "Well, your husband wants to stay, and we don't come from divorce, and you have to make it work.
Right.
So go to school, take a photography course, be busy, and
find something to occupy your time." Yeah.
Right. So the next thing I know, I go to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and I'm looking up at the leaderboard, and I call her and I said, "There's no such thing as a photography course. Everything is a 2-year program." And she goes, "Okay, so what do they have?" I said, "They have fashion, they have photography, they have interior design." She says, "You were always great in interior design. You always loved it. And you helped Daddy when we were little kids in construction, in the house." And because when my dad emigrated, my parents emigrated, they couldn't afford to buy a house and renovate. They purchased a house in Brooklyn, a little tiny house, and he put us in the house, and we were his little elves. We were helping him carry the electrical wires and the studs. Today, probably be called for child services, but back then. No. And that's how we really grew up with construction. And that's how I think my brothers ended up and being licensed GCs, because it was infused to our bloodlines.
Right.
So I took my sister's advice. I started going back to school, studying interior design, not even thinking that it was going to snowball into a career.
Yes.
And as some of my friends that I made along the way found out that I'm in school and designing, they said, "Oh, can you help us with pillows? Or can you help choose paint colors?" And I was like, doing odds and ends. And then my husband was in the luxury business, and we had the crash of 2008 where we were close to losing our house. And it was just a very challenging time. And that's why I try to mentor, because it takes a lot of fighting, a lot of perseverance, a lot of grit, and a lot of understanding and communication. As hard as life is, he was a great partner, and he still is a great partner. And we work together, and he's my best friend. But I also had the family mentorship and, their support system, which really helped me along the way.
100%. I think a good support system when you're doing anything, it's important, because we get to these points in life where we can kind of get down on ourselves, or like doubt and anxiety can kind of get the best of us, and having those grounding forces that kind of bring us back down to earth and encourage us, like that could always be that final push that kind of gets you over the finish line.
100%. Right. And some of my friends, and I always say this, another thing that makes Sarah Z so unique is the passion, the integrity. I think that how you handle yourself in business says a lot about who you are as a person. So I try to always teach my kids and follow that philosophy, to be honest, to be, to have integrity, to be empathetic to people's, life. And that's all infused also into Sarah Z Design.
And you can see it. It's kind of like a culture that we've built within the firm. It's I'd say it's like a little family. It's a little family. And our clients, they get kind of brought into that family, and they feel it. And you could see with like the way they trust us and how we all interact. And that's another thing that I find very special about Sarah Z and our office and our team. Like, it's just a very loving environment full of passion. You can tell our hearts and souls go into every single one of these projects. And it's just really, really special.
It's really true.
Yeah. So can you tell us a story about your big break? So what's that first big project that really got you there?
So it was I have to say, one of my lowest points in my life. We were really struggling financially. I was graduating school. I had part of my thesis. I had to leave my husband with 4 little kids and travel to China in order to be able to graduate. And all those things were smacking me left and right. It was just
overwhelming,
very hard. And my husband was in the industry because he was doing
the home automation.
Mm-hmm. And he had put me in contact with his friend who was a contractor. And the contractor had given this couple my number, mm-hmm. and they called me. I went to visit them. I went to meet them. And they said, listen, it was Friday. We're leaving Sunday evening. Can you put a mood board together? I went to see the condo that they purchased. And we'll meet you at Sunday at noon. I said, sure. So I started working, put a whole beautiful mood board together. And I met them. I brought the mood board. They said, we love it. We want to hire you. I said, okay, that's great. What is your retainer? I told them my retainer amount. And the client said, okay, I'll be coming in a week. We'll go shopping for everything that you presented. I said, sure. I got so excited. And I didn't realize the scope of the job. And she comes in and I pick her up every day and I take her for breakfast and I take her for dinner. We spent the whole week together and we really hit it off. In the process, I said, I can't afford all these dinners and lunches because I'm just starting. I was really challenging. My husband said, that's part of the business. That's part of the industry. I said, okay. And we had such an amazing time. But in the beginning of the week, she didn't like anything that I put on the mood board. And I said, oh my God, I got scared. What did I do wrong? And I said, but this is kind of the budget that you gave me to work with. So she said, and I don't like it. I said, okay, there's a great vendor that I think you would love, but it's not going to be within this budget. It's going to be probably 4 or 5 times the price of this budget. And she said, okay, let's just go see. So we went and we fell in love with everything and we chose everything and we curated everything with the custom fabrics and everything. And I told her, it's not going to be what you're expecting to spend. So she said, Sarah, don't worry about it. I get the bill, I calculate everything, and I'll never forget. I kind of was shaking when I saw the total, and I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to waste your time, mm-hmm. but this is where it came to, and I know this is what you guys wanted to spend, so we could select everything. Mm-hmm. So she said, not a problem, honey, don't worry. Just give me a few minutes. She calls her husband and she says, honey, this is where we kind of ended up with, and this is what I'd like to move forward. He said, not a problem. And the next thing I know, she writes me a check for half.
Amazing.
And I was like,
what a big break.
Huge break. And we've created such an amazing relationship. And I've already done 3 projects for them. Yes.
It's so cool how you're able to keep these relationships and build them and how the clients always come back. Because honestly, you're a very, very special person. And I see how you interact with them. And all of our clients absolutely adore you.
Thank
they
you.
refer their friends because they know you're the absolute greatest. I always say you're a legend, an icon, the moment, everything. But yeah,
so
it's super cool.
I think that goes back to the conversation we had in our last meeting in the office where you said, Sarah, it's a lot on your plate. And we have all these WhatsApp project chats and everybody wants instant answers and you're always on and you're always answering. And maybe you have to create some boundaries with the clients. And I said, mm-hmm. Christina, do I? Because it's about those relationships and that passion and that friendship that kind of makes us different from other design firms.
For sure.
And that's why we got referred business and second and third projects with the same clients because they know that they can contact me as a friend, not only as a designer. And what else could we expect when they're giving us their most intimate
Their
secrets?
most intimate details, because
Right?
that's what goes into a home. Design, like we said previously, very, very, very personal. This is a place where people are going to be entertaining guests, raising their children, making their fondest memories.
Correct.
So it's like, of course, with your interior designer, the relationship is just beyond just like a business kind of relationship. No,
And it's not a business.
it's not a business
It's not a
relationship.
business.
It's a friendship. It's a
Right.
friendship. But it's about finding that happy medium so you can get sleep at night.
That's
We gotta make sure you get sleep at night. Yeah. So what we were saying is it's not really a business. It's very personal. Creativity, design. It's extremely personal. But what I was wondering, like, what are your biggest inspirations when it comes to design? Like, what kind of guides your design process?
So my dad is one of my biggest mentors. And I always remember, and I think I brought that philosophy into Sarah Z, him being a builder and a contractor. And it wasn't about money. It was about honesty and integrity and making the clients happy, and about perfection and just having that fine detail. And that's kind of what we incorporated into our firm. A lot of my inspirations also come from travel. I think, and I advise any new designer in the industry to travel, to go to the shows. Don't be scared, because you have to be creative, and you don't want to just seem like you're kind of mimicking one design like the next over and over. And so traveling is super important. Going to the shows, going to the trade shows. I mean, you could get inspiration from anything, basically.
Anywhere. Yeah. Are there any people that you remember from your days in design schools? Any teachers that really touched you or influenced like the way you design today?
So I had a great textiles and codes teacher, Norma E., who inspired me and taught me almost everything. And she gave me one amazing piece of advice. And it only clicked in like 3 years into my career. She said, go by your gut instinct. If your gut tells you not to take on a client, don't take them on. I don't care how bad you need the money. Second, you have to decide what kind of designer you're going to be. You can't design for all. You're either a low-end, mid-end, or high-end luxury.
Right.
But if you become a high-end luxury designer, you're not going to know how to cater to the mid or lower end, because that's not what you do. And I said, wow, that doesn't make any sense. But later on, when I did get a client that didn't have such a big budget, right?
Yeah.
She was so right. I didn't know how to design, because
you didn't know how to work within those
exactly.
parameters.
I don't.
Yeah.
I have all the vendors that are really, really high end and luxurious, and that's the travels and that's the shows that I go to, and I didn't know how to, and I found it very challenging.
But that's really important advice, and
very important.
Extremely. But speaking of advice, do you have any for people who are just starting within the interior design game, or people who are starting school who have like doubts? Do you have any advice that you could share with them?
So one of the main pieces of advice is that you have to really, really love and have it as a passion, because it's not designing for a client is only 10%, but coordinating, putting out fires, being a psychologist between a couple, there's so much more infused into an interior designer's life than just the design or sketching or putting fabrics and millwork together. You have to oversee everything. You have to put the fires and protect the client from all the aggravation. You're taking on what they would be doing for themselves onto you. And you have to know certain situations where if a couple sits in front of you and they start arguing, how do you maneuver? How do you kind of say, okay, let's compromise on this?
Like being a mediator.
Exactly, being a mediator. And that I found that, like being a designer, they don't teach you that in school. They teach you the 10% of designing. So that's one of the best pieces of advice I could give anyone coming out of school.
And are there any things that you wish you would have known before entering the industry?
I think I wish somebody would have taught me how to create the right design service agreement, how to handle a client if things went
south.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Sometimes they do.
They do. Not often.
Not
and
often.
we've been very lucky and very blessed.
Like what you were saying about having gut feelings about your clients and being able to.
But you don't know that when you come out of school.
Yeah.
And you're so hungry and you want to take on every project because you're starting out, you need the money, you want that next project. You don't know what that smaller project is going to lead to a larger project. Right. So you just take on everything.
Yes. And we're really lucky to be in a position to work with the people that we do, because I can say that we have pretty great relationships with everyone that we work with.
We do. Like except for a few.
Except for oh my God. Truly. But how do you think you see the design world evolving in South Florida within the next few years?
Well, Miami is just a growing design world. There's so much new construction going up. There's a lot of people moving, whether from the West or from New York, and we kind of took a dip for a little bit, but now we're slammed. And I see that it's an industry thing. Everybody's slammed. Yes. Whoever I talk to, our trade partners, my designer friends, and it's great. And we just have to ride that wave. And it's wonderful because it's just taken on a whole new world. I remember vacationing in Miami with my parents in the 1990s. There was nothing here. And you see that evolution, which is amazing.
I feel like they're putting up a new building every single day.
Yes, they are.
It's great. It's great. Catch us in Brickell soon. But well, we got to wrap up this episode. So what do you think that listeners can expect from Bespoke going forward?
I think they could learn a little bit about who Sarah Z Designs is. I think that one of the main things that I would love for people to find out is the health benefits tied with design and mentorships and human interaction, and where the world should be heading into more empathy, more kindness. Yes. And that's what I think. That's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. And it's really important. And something big for me with doing this podcast with you is really having another platform for people to really get to know you, like outside of just Sarah Z Designs, learning and knowing Sarah Zohar, the person, because you are just, I think you're absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
What a great storyteller. You walk into a room and you light it up. And I think it's just such a cool thing to get on camera and to share with others.
Well, thank you.
I'm really excited about all of it.
I'm excited about this podcast too.
Any final words for the creatives out there? Anyone listening in today?
Just always remember we're all the same. You can have a gift, and I have the gift of creativity. But whatever industry you are, we're all people. You have to stay grounded. You have to stay humble. You have to take people and speak to them at eye level. Never think that you're better than anyone else, no matter how creative you are or what kind of gift you've been given. I just think that that's what we need.
Yes, be humble, be kind. And just put that out into the world.
Yes.
I love that. What a beautiful way to wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into our first episode today. We hope that you enjoyed. We had so much fun filming. We hope you have fun watching. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.